Hello, and welcome to Dare to Share with Mistie Layne. I'm so happy to have you here tonight. My apologies. Part of being a frontline healthcare worker is we have to deal with those emergencies as they roll in through the emergency room. And I got stuck at the hospital, you guys, and it was unavoidable for me to get here. I don't want to waste any time because my guest is also a friend of mine. And he's got a lot that he's going to share. He's going to teach us a lot. We're going to have a lot of awareness and awakening into the world of autism. And so I don't want to spend a lot of time apologizing. I'm just going to say, here we are now. I hope you're joining us. Please feel free to leave comments. Christopher Kaysen is an amazing, authentic, dynamic young man that everyone has fallen in love with. And he would love questions. He would love feedback. So if you're watching live, please feel free to put in the comments where you're watching from, and welcome Christopher to the Dare to Share show. All right, Christopher, I'm going to go ahead and bring you in, my friend. We're going to skip everything and go straight to you. Boom. Hey, Chris.
Hey.
Yay. I know. I hope I haven't made you nervous because I know I'm just kind of flying through this, but you're a pro. You have your own podcast.
Yeah, right? Through Autistic Eyes, which I guess technically I started last year, really, when I started doing those live streams during the competition we were both in.
Yep. So this is Christopher Kaysen, you guys. Like I said, he's also someone that I call a friend. He and I competed together in the Next Global Impactor competition, where he placed fourth in that competition, and we became friends. We've been to several events together. We were both in the Misfit Nation tribe together. We support a lot of the same causes. We support each other continually. So I'm really honored and really happy to have him here tonight. He's gonna talk to us a lot about some of his challenges and struggles of being autistic, and how society just doesn't. I think it's a lack of education. It's a lack of awareness. And that's why I like to have this show, so that we can learn from each other. Chris, I know you've watched my show many times, and I appreciate your support. So from the top of the show, I always start out by giving you 2 minutes to just kind of brag about yourself, tell us what you got going on, your most proud moments in your life. And then after that, we're going to start probing into some of your challenges and your adversity, okay? So I'm going to give it to you now. You got 2 minutes, buddy. Go for it.
Oh, gosh, I'm already nervous. So like she said, I'm Christopher Kaysen, and I'm, excuse me, still a bit dry, but I'm a photographer, mainly done events, well, until the whole COVID thing happened. So I started pivoting towards real estate, just another learning experience for me there. And I've also done some art lately, and again, recently a podcaster, and also I happen to be on the autistic spectrum. So specifically, I have Asperger's syndrome, which I believe a previous guest on your show also had, Tucker Bearden.
By the way,
watch that episode after this one. And joined the competition with Next Impactor last year with a platform that I decided to develop, which ended up being a few months before I even heard of it, called Autism to Autism, where I wanted us to focus more of your ability instead of your disability, just more of what you can do instead of being told of what you can't do.
I love that.
And to not only bring more better awareness for what autistic adults face, since unfortunately support tends to drop like a rock after 18 and leaving high school. So
what drops like a rock? Did you say support?
Yeah, from what I've looked at, because there's already a ton of support for kids with autism that are going through their struggles with school, but then afterwards, not as much. And there are a few nonprofits, just not as many as one to help kids on the autistic spectrum, which is important, by the way. But
yes,
we can't forget we can't forget those who slip through the cracks either.
Right. Well, so what would you say, Chris, your most proudest moment is in your life to date?
It was at a point I was going through college, and I decided I didn't want any kind of aid following me. I just wanted to try to do things on my own for a change.
So
But
you were
then, it was just at a point where I was just depressed as hell and just wondering, feeling almost meaningless, almost directionless, because I knew I wanted to be a game designer, but beyond that, I didn't really have any sort of guidance
right.
towards any of that, towards socializing, which was really difficult as well, since I tend to sit alone at the cafeteria along with everyone else during those lunch breaks in between courses. And I ended up hearing a group of students that were in the same class as me talking about creating a video game, teaming up. And for the longest time, I just kept thinking that autism was always going to hold me back, and just and then eventually, I'm still not sure how. I've just got this push of just, you know what, this is now or never. You either just go for it, or you could continue in self pity and you know just save yourself. So I did, and ever since, and they just welcomed me with open arms. Loved how I sketch, because I used to draw a lot as a kid, and even though the game I did didn't go anywhere, it was like almost first friends in college, and it was almost like a snowball effect. Every time I pushed myself, good things started to happen to me. So it's just me getting out of the comfort zone instead of making excuses.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, Chris, I want to ask you a few questions real quick.
Okay.
Because this is about promoting awareness and education.
Mm-hmm.
So, in keeping that in mind, I wanted to ask you, how old are you? First of all, how old are you?
35.
35. Okay. So, growing up, did you grow up in the Chicago public school system?
No, I actually grew up and still currently live in the Northwest Indiana area. So
Okay. But you were in the public school system there?
yeah, I was in the public school system there.
Okay. So, how were your teachers? Were your teachers educated about Asperger's and autism? And if they were, how did they treat you? And if they weren't, how did they treat you?
Um, and that's the thing, because after I left high school, I just wanted to forget everything. So it's almost like me trying to bring back the pieces together that's still ongoing. But
Right.
um, kind of a mixed bag, because I can't remember if I was the first autistic student ever been there or not. So
Oh,
it's just the growing up in elementary, they did have the special ed teacher there, which worked along with my mom, read the same books as her, which she went with Temple Grandin, and big advocate,
yeah.
and just to try her best to understand me and just work along with me, such as at times where I may seem a bit ruly, whatever, for whatever reason I can't remember, but just lay my head down and almost act like a reset button, kind of like on a computer, just resetting my mind. And she did her best to work along with me. And I recall kind of the same similar feeling with some in more of the arts, like music and art class. And for a lot of the other ones, I just, again, it was more sticking with the special ed classes for some other subjects, but eventually,
What?
man, I'm trying to remember. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
it's okay. Were you encouraged? Let me ask it this way.
Hmm.
So, in the public school system growing up, were you encouraged by your teachers and the coaches and the music teachers and art teachers? Were you encouraged to participate? Were you encouraged to step out of the box and push yourself? Or did they kind of tuck you away in a class and in a corner somewhere and not deal with it?
Well, with the art and music class, because I was in choir actually for a short while, they did try to work with me, like you said, but with the others, they just treated me like any other student and just kind of shoved, I guess, shoved back. But I did remember having a teacher's aide with me at all times. So
to kind of help you out.
Yeah.
So what was it like as far as, I know you said when you got into your special class that you kind of stuck with your group of kids, and we all do that. I was a band geek growing up. I was always
Mm.
in the band, played the clarinet, saxophone. I was a twirler, and we just stuck to our own. Band kids stuck to band kids. I know football players generally stick with football players. We kind of find our little niche and we stick with it. So that's pretty typical. But aside of that special group that you were in, that you formed friends with, how did your peers treat you? Because you obviously acted, a little different.
Yeah.
And back then we didn't have as much awareness as we have today, and today still isn't even enough. But how did your peers treat you?
Well, of course, it's kind of course, obvious, easy target for bullying, so that happened at times, such as the example I mentioned last year where one on the bus decided to just grab my arm so tight that his nails just dig into my arm and I started bleeding before I got off the bus. And also, I mainly sat alone at school, and other times, with the cafeteria, the only place I could go was like with my sister and her friends. And I ended up finding out later from a group of people that if they had known about that, they would have let me sit with them, because we were all in those separate round tables that didn't leave much room to really commingle. Almost like forced us into these different cliques. I
Clicks,
guess you
yeah.
could say, yeah. And
Hmm.
I kind of ran into some problems with more of the higher up in the faculty that weren't exactly as understanding supportive, because having a hard time understanding social cues and all that, which got me into trouble. And I just vaguely recall one time where it got to the point where my parents were talking to a lawyer to sue the school because of some action they did. So, but I can't remember what it was.
They were disciplining you,
Something like that, yeah.
as if you were aware. And with Asperger's, like you said, you don't pick up on those social clues.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm not correct. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I have a cousin that also has Asperger's syndrome, and I know growing up with him, how he acted and reacted, extremely intelligent, just off the chart genius level, with lots and lots of abilities, like you said. But he was missing a filter.
Yeah.
For instance, if you would say something to him, and of course, he's way younger than me, but I wasn't near as intelligent as he was, because he was super intelligent. He would almost like talk ugly to me because, like, you're just stupid. You don't know. And I didn't know, but it didn't mean I was stupid. I just, so he was missing that filter that would tell him to be nice, I guess, is what you say. Is that correct? Is that kind of how it is?
Yeah, it can be. It's it's well, they do call it a spectrum for a reason, because it could be, I'm imagining your first thought was like a strip of different colors, that when it's more like a color wheel, which some having this trait a bit more, some not having that trait as much, and it's just, it's, and there goes my brain.
It's okay.
It's just free. It sometimes freezes up like this, but because I'm
That-
overthinking with all these different choices, there's things I could say, and it just floods so much in there that it just locks up like one of those really old computers that try to like play a video game or something that's not meant to play, and it just freezes up.
I hear you. My brain freezes up all the time too. And I wanted to mention to you, when you were talking about the school bus incident where someone grabbed your arm so tight that their nails dug into you. It happens, actually, to everyone, Chris. I mean, I'm sure that you got a lot of bullying, because you were maybe different, you stood out more. But I mean, I remember so many instances where I was bullied. Um, And I was pretty, I mean, if you know me, what you do, I'm a pretty strong personality. Like I'm a pretty aggressive. I kind of say what I feel and what I mean kind of thing. But I was bullied when I was a freshman in high school. The upperclassmen girls, if their boyfriend liked me, they hunted me down. They poured cokes on me when I was walking off. One of them attacked me on the school bus, pushed me down the stairs getting off the school bus. I mean, we got in physical fist fights over it. So I mean, it does happen across the board. But when someone attacks you, um, do you internalize that? Like, I'm sure you do way more, right? You're probably
Mm.
overly sensitive as to where maybe I would just like roll it off, like whatever, call her a bitch or whatever and get over it. But how did you feel about it? How did it affect you in your life moving forward?
Well, it just made me more reclusive than I already was. I mean, after I get off the school bus, I just stay at home all the time, and just having to deal with bullies just wanted me to just stay in my room even more
So,
and not actually interact.
so you actually made you withdraw even more.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, what are some of the challenges? Okay, so you've gotten into college now and
Mhm.
you've made a group of friends. What are some social challenges that you're recalling during this time in your life, like in the college era? Social challenges that autism um, has to deal with, like autistic people have to deal with.
um, just communicating in general. I mean, even after going, say, after a live stream, it just takes so much out of me that I have to like recharge, and it's um, there we go again. Sorry.
Look,
Yeah.
it's no biggie. Just take a deep breath, Chris. Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
It's all good, friend. It's all good.
Mm,
So we were just talking about college time
yeah.
and some of your social pressures that you were having to go through. Like, did you have a hard time applying for jobs? Were you able to get jobs?
Well, I attempted a few times because my sister kept encouraging it because you have to get experience, but
Right.
um, it's just, I guess you could say, difficult because it just felt like the whole thing was more in favor to neurotypicals instead of like people that are dis- uh, I don't want to say disabled because it's more like able for me, but
You
but
that have challenges.
yeah, and I remember one interview where I was, if you think I'm nervous now, I was like literally shaking because I was really nervous, and then I'm always on. I've just been honest, like I am on the autistic spectrum, and he's like, okay, okay, and then I didn't know if he was just trying to comfort me at all, or if he thought I was just a ticking time bomb waiting to explode into a meltdown because
Yeah.
that whole stereotype.
Right. Wow.
So,
So is that kind of how you got into photography? Because it was like a one man show kind of thing, and you
well,
didn't
funny
really.
story about that. It was right after graduating, and a friend of mine from one of those college courses, because he was going for computer graphics design like I was with animation, with kind of like Pixar, and yep, there I am.
There you are.
So, and he actually owned a wedding photography studio, so he had a graphic design internship, and it just felt like once again it was just now or never, just go for it or continue sullying and self-pity. So I did, and the way he interviewed me was a lot more different than the others because usually they just ask a bunch of questions on a sheet. While with him, he actually gave me a project to try out just to see how I handle it, and he loved it, and I got hired then. And it was also around the time that I just started cycling around since I have just gone through like 5 surgeries in 2 years during college due to a pilonidal cyst and
Oh,
couldn't move for the longest time. So I was just, again, another thing with pushing myself to just cycle further and further till I was going like somewhere over 30 miles in a day. My phone kept freezing, so I have no idea the exact length, and I just started taking photos with my phone because I was in the middle of, doing my best to, create my own game, even though I'm horrible at coding, and it just stuck with me. And I asked them, what do you think about it? And he said to just go for it. And I first started with turning in like 2 mobile like photos to this landscape photography magazine, and both of them ended up getting published in it, like the mobile photo for the month. And I just got my camera and just started taking photos while cycling, and eventually established my business today. So it started off with, taking photos of landscape and nature just to kind of show, what people are missing when they're stuck in their heads just driving by and just missing all this natural beauty that we just tend to not notice and just think, I'm too busy worrying about what's going to happen at work today and all this other stuff. So, and eventually evolve into event photography, and because I started, doing photos for events such as the Co-op Network event that Jeff Levin hosts. He was one of the co-producers of the Next Impactor. That's how I found out about the competition, through him. And another reason that I joined that business networking event was also I just wanted to figure out how to become an entrepreneur, because I went with the attitude of, okay, if no one's going to hire me, I'll just create my own freaking job.
That's good. Yeah.
And I just wanted to figure out how to be great at entrepreneurship so I could teach other people like myself how to do it as well, because there is a huge problem with being unemployed even before COVID hit. I think it was like, that was the dog. I'm trying to remember the percentage number, because I also looked more into this during the Next Impact. I think it's like 70% unemployed or something like that. And it's just,
Wow.
and then more recently I found an article. I believe there was a study in the UK or somewhere in Europe, but the average lifespan for someone on the autistic spectrum was in their 50s, and the number one reason for death was suicide.
Suicide and depression. Yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine part of it is just not being able to be independent, not feeling their self-worth, that in some ways I'm still working on today, but it's a huge improvement from before. So
Well,
that's kind of how.
You show so much strength and perseverance, Christopher. And I think that you are such a voice for autism. I mean, you just like you said, you just went out and created your own job. And I think that more people on the autistic spectrum need to see more of that, fighting back and just not taking, whatever it is. So I'm really happy and proud of you for that. And, I was coaching with Lauren Michaels Harris at the time that the Next Impactor whole thing evolved. And I'll never forget the day you posted your video. And I was also a competitor. And Lauren said, "You've got to see this Christopher Cason's video. He's like, he's gonna win." And I'm like, "Well, thanks, coach. Thanks a lot, And he just kept referring back to you because your video was so authentic. Oh man,
Authentic.
See, my brain freezes too, Chris. It was so authentic, and you were just so real and down to earth and humble, just so humble. And I just will never forget that day. And it just, Lauren's eyes and his heart and all of us just fell so in love with you. And I've watched you evolve and grow so much over this last year and a half. It's amazing where you are today.
I still have a lot of room to grow, since I've been reminding myself lately that I'm just a work in progress.
We all are, Chris. And here's your Through Autistic Eyes podcast. I'm so proud of you for starting that. Do a beautiful job with your podcasting. I don't have any of your artwork to show, but I know through the Chemo Buddies, we've seen plenty of it go through there, and it's gorgeous, beautiful work.
Thank you.
I do want to ask you this. For someone that may be watching that has a friend or a sibling or that themselves is autistic to one level or another, what advice can you give them if they are having trouble with that, tending to want to be withdrawn and recluse and stay away from everyone because of the bullying or feeling outcast? What gives you the energy and the courage to get up every day and face all of that? What advice can you give them to do that?
Well, part of that was something that my mother looked up with Temple Grandin's book, since she's an autism advocate, and she's also on the has Asperger's like myself, and with everything she dealt with growing up, and her advice was always to keep pushing them out of their comfort zone, just little by little, because unfortunately, you're not going to be around for them for their whole lives. So you have to be aware that eventually they're going to have to be able to take care of themselves in some way. And I started realizing more and more of that things don't last forever, and they just keep on pushing forward, because what's the alternative for me? I mean, yeah, and just to understand that, they're not different than you. They just experience the world. They just have a different perspective of the world from you, and that's neither good nor bad. It's just a different perspective and a way to experience.
Right,
and they're having just as much of a problem trying to understand it as you are with understanding them. So it takes a group effort to really be able to help each other out.
That's a great way to see it. That's exactly right. And I think also it takes more people like yourself standing up to make us more aware, to educate the community and society about, like you said, it's not disabilities. It's about discovering all the wonderful talents and abilities that you do have. Like I said, my cousin, oh my gosh, he's brilliant, just brilliant. And, I think that I've heard a lot of things about where one person, if you're missing one of your senses, your other senses are heightened.
Yep.
If you're blind, your hearing is super, super keen, things like that. So I know that there are tremendous talents that you probably haven't even discovered about yourself yet. So I think it's important for anyone watching that does tend to want to become reclusive, even if you're not even autistic, it just in human nature, you don't want to face the bullies, you don't want to face reality, and you want to just stay in your own little bubble, is to think about how you stepping out of that bubble can make a change in the world. Because you stepping out, becoming transparent, and hashtag be that one to step up and share, it is going to educate, enlighten, it's going to give courage and strength and hope and inspiration to others to do the same. And then the more that people come out and step out of their comfort zone, like you said, it's a two-way thing. The more people can just help each other out in the community. And I think that is so important. Also, I think another important aspect of it is to give back. And that's one of the things I say helped me a lot, was realizing it's not about me, but who can I go help today? And when I do that, it just makes all my past and all the things that I'm down on myself about somehow better. It just makes it okay, or at least manageable or livable or whatever the word is.
Yeah, just make that ripple effect that just goes on forever.
Yeah. That's a great scientist, by the way, because she is one. Okay. Robert was just talking about some different stories in his life. He said that his highest aspiration is to always be a work in progress.
Yeah, and the thing to remember is we're all a work in progress, whether you're on the autistic spectrum or not. So.
Yep. Chris, you're an inspiration to us all. You continue to learn, to read, and are a wealth of knowledge. I'm very proud of you. That's from Sherry McQueen.
Thank you.
I know that the Chemo Buddies for Life is an organization we're both pretty active in. You're more active than me. I've just got a lot on my plate, but I'm there at heart always. But I know that that community adores and loves you as well, and all the great things you do.
Yeah,
I
I actually have one more story if I could squeeze that in. But
absolutely,
another thing to get out of the comfort zone is, look at what their interests are. Because for me, what got me a little bit interacting more was, the whole Pokemon craze in the 90s that happened. Well, I got suckered into that and got into card games. And instead of like restricting it for any reason, they were in full support because it just got me going in the local competitions with the card game and interacting more. So you just have to find something that gets them out of that bubble a little bit and just inch by inch.
yeah, yeah, that's good. It's good advice. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
All right, Christopher, I need to ask you kind of a tough question. This is called the Dare to Share with Mistie Layne show because I really want to push people to face their own realities, to face their own truth, because I believe part of our healing process is taking accountability and understanding our pain. So on the Dare to Share show, I always ask my guests to think about a vulnerable time in their life. Um, really tap into your emotions and become transparent with the audience and think about that vulnerable time in your life that might have been a pivotal point that changed something for you. It might have been just a really down time that you've never even shared with someone.
Mhm.
But I want you to think about that time and tell us how it affected your life and how you were able to come up and rise above it and pull yourself up out from that time of your life.
Yeah, well, to go off of, well, I told this story a little bit before, but my mother had she's quite a fighter. So I guess I get a little bit of that from her because she spent most of her life with post polio and scoliosis, and even had me and my sister born, even though she was in that condition. So the doctors were expecting her to pass away when I was in elementary, but of course she's quite the fighter, like I said. So right up into high school, and that was a tough point in life because she was kind of degrading to the point where she had an oxygen tank attached to her. And it was around the time that I decided to try to get out of my comfort zone by, okay, I'll do it like this solo for this special choir thing. Just a big first for me. And I started getting cold feet, and I just kept praying for whatever way that I could get out of this, because trouble speaking, I don't know. And unfortunately that prayer was answered with her turning to the worst, and she ended up passing away. And her funeral was at the time that I would have done that solo, and kind of felt like it was my fault, in a way. And just really upset, and just really upset that I didn't really take a chance to really say goodbye to her. And so now, and I was just stuck talking to a tombstone for the rest of my life, just wishing I could have told her that, I loved her and I appreciate everything she's done for me. And I just kept mentally beating myself up. And I guess, and, a couple days after the funeral, actually, I haven't actually told this, but, I was laying down really upset, like I was with, like the previous podcast I was, where I went into it and just lying on my side, and it just felt like some sort of hand rubbing on my back. And I just turned around, and there was just no one there. And I guess thinking back, it might have been my mother saying, "Hey, it's okay. I love you, but I, you know, I forgave you, and don't sweat about it." And yet, I guess for a long time, I didn't want to forgive myself, and that's just the important thing to really start the process, is to just forgive yourself. And it also didn't help that this was the start of a string of deaths within the family, such as my grandmother, who I haven't really been able to talk to since like I was maybe 6, passing away from cancer. She was the first one from cancer. She I think it was colon cancer, but it spread up her spine, I think, and towards the brain. And she ended up having a tumor and passed away from that. And then just trying to remember how many. It was like maybe 9 deaths in a decade. So it just felt like a constant punch and reminder of that. And just
well, Chris, a lot of us believe, at least I know I do, that our loved ones, when they pass away, that we can still communicate with them. And I do believe that that was probably her patting you on, rubbing you on the back, letting you know she's always going to be there with you, no matter what. But what I also think, Chris, is that you said at the beginning of the show that one of your proudest moments was when you were in college and you were no longer having to have that teacher aide and you were gaining independence. And I think I want to believe that that was your mom pushing you still, from there, pushing you because she knows she knows what you're capable of. She created you, she's the one that birthed you. So I think she's always going to be there to push you. And I applaud you for taking that step forward and not resisting the push, because you're incredible, my friend, and you're going to change the world. So you just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
I love you, Chris, so much. I think you're just amazing.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. I want you to just say, we're running out of time, and I hate that I had to rush you, and I hope you're not upset with me over it. I'm so sorry. My job.
Yeah, things happen. So
yeah, there you are. There's my son, and y'all are kind of looking at each other right there. That was on the yacht at the Unstoppable event. There you are at the next Impactor competition where you play.
The photos aren't showing up.
Huh?
Were the photos supposed to show up on the screen, or?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry. Let's go back. Okay. So there's the one on the yacht for Unstoppable. There you are in front. There's Tamara Hunter there, and Nancy and Emily, and there I am, and there's Lauren, and of course Jeff. That was a really proud moment for all of us, I'm sure. There we are again, to the Impactor trophies.
Yeah.
And there you sit. Look at you. Just look at the confidence on your face, Chris. Look at you. Wasn't that amazing? And of course, there you are with with Brian. That's Brian, the two Brians, right?
Yep.
And Kimberly. Yep.
Yep. From #Team Jason.
And there you are with Jason. And I know Jason is my mentor, and I'm sure he's a mentor and a friend of yours as well. And he's done a lot of great things to change a lot of things in a lot of people's lives. And all I hope for is to do the work he's doing, at the same type of level one day, that I could get up to the same magnitude that he is doing. Oh, my friend Janet said, you are handsome and caring. I agree, Janet. He is a beautiful person. I'm just so blessed and honored to know him. I just adore him. Chris, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for getting intimate with us and sharing those touching moments. I know it's hard.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. I know it's hard, my friend, but you just remember the advice you just gave, and that's to just get up every day and just keep pushing yourself out of that box and keep going forward. Don't become reclusive. Don't become withdrawn.
I'm not. I'm still studying up. So after this, I have to do a course and just get on to a goal of publishing my first book by the end of the year. So
I'm so proud of you. Are you doing that with Vicky?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm in that too, but I can't ever make the meetings. It's hard when you have 3 full-time jobs.
Yeah, and her being in Australia, so it's kind of hard to coordinate because it was like at 8 a.m. So
wow, look at these women. Christopher has handsome soul and spirit. Yep, a beautiful soul. Thank you for sharing, Chris. Everybody just loves you. They always have. We know that. Thank you both, Chris and Misty. You're just releasing toxins, Christopher. It's very healthy. I agree with that. Thank you for saying that, Robert. It's the truth. Yep. And he's also encouraging so many others. All right, my friend, I've got to go because I think Dr. Jan's on with her show next. So we're going to get off the airwaves so she can get on. But thank you for being here. Thank you for all you're doing. And please continue to do it. Okay.
Yep, thank you.
I love you, Chris. You take care.
Yep, you as well.
Oh, one more thing before I go. Tell everyone where they can catch your podcast, what time, and where to find it.
I still need a schedule for this month, actually, but usually I have it at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time every Wednesday. But I still need to schedule for a few more weeks for this month and just get preparing for October as well. So,
And
but
that's
you can be.
Facebook page?
It's a Facebook page and YouTube channel, and it's also available now for the different places in podcast forms such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio.
Are you on E360?
Not as of yet, but you never know.
Okay. All right.
I've been eyeing on it, so.
Okay, I just put in the notes. I put in the comments for those of you wanting to catch his show, his podcast, that it's 7 p.m. on every Wednesday night on his Facebook page and like the other places he mentioned. Okay. All right, Chris, you have a great night. We'll catch up with you again on another interview. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care.
You too. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Christopher's amazing. Look him up on Facebook. Check him out. Look at some of his artwork. Support his show. And I'll be back every Tuesday and Thursday night, 6 p.m. Central Time. Sorry everything was in such a rush, but it's just in the line of duty, I guess, right? All right, so this is Mistie Layne signing out for tonight, being transparent with Christopher Kaysen about autism and Asperger's syndrome and some of the challenges, and also about how to combat some of the tendencies to want to get reclusive. All right, love you guys. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.